We need to see unemployment rise. Unemployment has to jump 40–50% in my view. We need to see pain in the economy. We need to remind people that they work for the employer.
Actually, you're just like a feudal lord saying that the peasants have gotten too uppity and they're asking for too much.
You think that young people have now got the prospect of never owning a home?
Absolutely, when you're spending $40 a day on smashed avocado and coffee, you're not working, are you?
He had it all handed to him. It was all handed to him. This fella is a guy named Tim Gurner. Tim has got himself into bother today with the following comments. So let's watch and find out what he said. I have seen this a million times because it's been all over Twitter. So
Yeah, we have
a bit quiet now.
people decided they didn't really want to work so much anymore through COVID, and that has had a massive issue on productivity. You know, tradies have definitely pulled back on productivity. You know, they have been paid a lot to do not too much in the last few years, and we need to see that change. We need to see unemployment rise. Unemployment has to jump 40–50% in my view. We need to see pain in the economy. We need to remind people that they work for the employer, not the other way around. I mean, there's been a systematic change where employees feel the employer is extremely lucky to have them, as opposed to the other way around. So it's a dynamic that has to change. We've got to kill that attitude, and that has to come through hurting the economy, which is what the whole global, you know, the world is trying to do. The governments around the world are trying to increase unemployment to get that to some sort of normality. And we're seeing it. I think every employer now is seeing it. I mean, there is definitely massive layoffs going off. People might not be talking about it, but people are definitely laying people off, and we're starting to see less arrogance in the employment market, and that has to continue because that will cascade across the cost balance.
Like, Jesus. Okay, so as you can see, those are some pretty spicy takes. So he's essentially saying people in the wake of COVID and being able to work from home, etc., started to realise that they could actually demand rights. And as a result, he feels this has made people less productive and more lazy. And so what we need to do is dramatically increase unemployment by about 50%. I remember reading earlier that in his country of Australia, which is, I assume where he's referring to, make about 220,000 Australians unemployed. So basically, he wants hundreds of thousands to millions more people unemployed, and globally millions, in order that they work harder for people like him. There's always with these people a complete lack of acknowledgement that the vast majority of people who are in work are doing jobs that they don't like purely for money. A lot of CEOs, and this is a huge problem generally, right? You see across society, a huge number of CEOs, they have to work to get there, to get to the top. They have to work so hard. They have to work all the time. They have to work constantly. And then all of the people who are in those top jobs who are surrounding them also are kind of these workaholic types. And they think, no, everyone else should be working round the clock. Most people want to have a life, want to have free time. They're working so they can earn money to live, right? I feel like for a lot of these CEOs where work is kind of their life because that's how they got there, right? They assume it should be for everyone else and assume everyone is lazy. And this geezer is literally prepared to destroy the economy. He literally, look, he says it, let's watch it again.
I think the problem that we've had is that we have people decided they didn't really want to work so much anymore through COVID, and that has had a massive issue on productivity. You know, tradies have definitely pulled back on productivity. You know, they have been paid a lot to do not too much in the last few years, and we need to see that change. We need to see unemployment rise.
Jesus. He literally wants you on the streets begging on your knees for work, because then you'll be grateful. You'll be grateful to people like him for just, oh, thank you so much, they just gave me a job. I won't have a weekend. I don't need a weekend. Please let me work for you. Let me do whatever you say, sir. Right, that's what they want, and they're prepared to hurt. They're like all of our right. Literally, the guy wants to hurt the Australian economy, right? And like, no doubt, he literally says the. I think he says the. Let's carry on. I think he says the global economy, in order to make his life easier. This is the most insane level of sociopathy. And as we're going to see later, right, even some unexpected, like other CEOs, right-wing newspapers have been shitting on this guy for how insane this is.
50% in my view. We need to see pain in the economy. We need to remind people that they work for the employer, not the other way around. I mean, there's been a systematic change where employees feel the employer is extremely lucky to have them, as opposed to the other way around. So it's a dynamic that has to change. We've got to kill that attitude, and that has to come through hurting the economy, which is what the whole global, the world is trying to do.
Like, that's actually insane. Like, again, he wants to hurt the global economy. He says, and he thinks other people agree with him, then no, what we need to do is you need to tank the global economy because people are making way too much money here. You know what? Living standards, bear in mind, we're at the biggest cost of living, like, squeeze we've had for about 100 years. Right? Wages are falling rapidly, in real terms, like not like overall, but in terms of in line with inflation. Everything, prices are skyrocketing. The actual value of like the money in your pockets goes down constantly, and yet this guy thinks, you know what, they're earning too much money, right? What I want is for people to be poor and absolutely desperate. It's not like, well, you know what, if only we were third world countries with no money and, you know, people were just looking around desperate for anything. Well, if I give him a job, he'll get on his knees for me. He'll beg, oh, sir, just want to say thank you so much for the, you know. And I want to be clear, there's times, hey, there are jobs I could get where I would be super grateful. If someone was like, hey, I saw you stream with your 4 viewers, and I just wanted to come and say to you, yeah, we'd like to give you a job at the BBC. Like, yeah, you're right, I would literally dick ride them. Like, I would be like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm doing this. I'm like, oh, I'm so grateful. Like, I will always support these people. Sure. So there are times when that can happen, and that can even be justified, right? Not to what he's saying, but it could be, you know, you could be justifiably overjoyed to get a job. But the idea that someone stacking shelves in Tesco should just be so grateful that they're not starving to death. And not only that, not only is he promoting the idea that they should be starving to death so that they can be grateful, but that we should try and facilitate that.
Governments around the world are trying to increase unemployment.
Who? Where? Which government? Which governments are trying to... Sorry, I realise I'm just pause-handing every 2 seconds, but which government... We already watched it anyway. Which governments are trying to cause unemployment? Christ! Oh, not even our political parties in the UK are that mental.
Sort of normality. And we're seeing it. I think every employer now is seeing it. I mean, there is definitely massive layoffs going off. People might not be talking about it, but people are definitely laying people off, and we're starting to see less arrogance in the employment market.
Yes, like he literally says that like I'm not saying he's a Nazi, he's not saying anything racist or whatever, but like he says like some Nazi SS officer, right? Should I look?
Extremely lucky to have them, as opposed to hurting the economy, which is what the whole global, you know, the world is trying to do. The governments around the world are trying to increase unemployment to get that to some sort of normality. And we're seeing it. I think every employer now is seeing it. I mean, there is definitely massive layoffs going off. People might not be talking about it, but people are definitely laying people off, and we're starting to see less arrogance in the employment market, and that has to continue because that will cascade it.
Yes, they're starting to see less arrogance in the employment industry. You see what I mean about him, literally like a Nazi SS officer. Now you'll stop your arrogance. Get back to work now. Right, again, I'm not calling him a Nazi. I'm just saying, you shouldn't be so arrogant. It's also the fact that it does my head in that they really cannot see, right? They really cannot see that people around them should not just be grovelling, working every single moment that they have. That even the guy who sweeps the toilet should, who cleans, like even the guy that cleans the skid marks out of the toilet in the office should be trying to work till past midnight to do extra work, to find extra stuff, because that's what the CEO does. And it's like, well, because that's what the CEO does, and if you don't do it, you're arrogant, and you should realise that he gave you a job, and you should get on your knees and beg him, so get on your knees and just thank you, sir, thank you, Lord, oh, thank you so much for what you've done for us. Right? And if you're not doing that, you know what? Let's tank the economy. Let's crush the economy, and then you'll have no money. And then you'll have to come crawling on your knees and begging your Lord and Master for crumbs from his table, peasant. Yeah, because of the Australian accent, because of all of that, right, you don't quite notice that what he's actually saying is, yes, you see, what has happened is that the peasantry have started to get ideas above their station. Now, what the way they act in front of their Lord and Master, they would work. So I've tried to send them out to the fields, and they simply, they've become lazy and used to too much. So I think we should engineer a famine. Once the peasants are starving, they don't want to work in their master's field. They don't want to work on the master's field. See, there's too much food. I told you, if peasants were able to eat too much, they simply get fat and lazy. Instead, like me, I'm the Lord of the Land, and I've worked my whole life. And these people should respect that, and they should work for me on my land. Literally, I like the fella in the workhouse on Oliver Twist. Can I have some more, sir? More? You want more? Like, it literally is like a cartoon. Like, literally like a cartoon. Oh yeah, it was another one. It's another one from him. Right, yeah. So this is another one he did on 60 Minutes Australia.
We are coming into a new reality where first-home buyers, second-home buyers, and a lot of people won't own a house in their lifetime. That is just the reality of where we're going.
So you think that young people have now got the prospect of never owning a home?
Absolutely, when you're spending $40 a day on smashed avocado and coffees and not working. Yeah, of course.
Sorry. How are you spending $40 a day on smashed avocados and coffee and not working? Number one, like, that's crazy. Number two, it's like, first of all, like, if you're going to tell me who's eating smashed avocados on toast every day, I'm probably going to think it's going to be some kind of CEO kind of a guy, right? Like, that's a very upper middle class kind of a thing to be doing. Right, to be spending, I go and not only do I buy avocado, not just buy avocado at Tesco and make it myself, I actually go out, I spend £5-6, or I go to a $40 place. Like, that's more the sort of thing people like him are doing. But I think he imagines, they must just, like, but this is what they imagine. It's all these, they're spending all this money and they're being idiots with the money and that's why they can't afford a house. Like, no, I'm sorry. The cost of housing is insane and is dramatically higher than the average wage, right? Most mortgage companies will give you, 3 times what you earn? Maybe 4 or 5 if you're really lucky. I think it's about 3. It might be 5 if it's combined household income. It's just like the arrogance of it. It's like, you can't afford it? You must be an idiot then. It's your fault. It's literally that if you're poor, it's because you're lazy. Kind of like memes from the fucking 16th century.
Absolutely. When I had my first business when I was 19, I was in the gym at 6 a.m. in the morning and I finished at 10:30 at night, and I did it 7 days a week. And I did it till I could afford my first home. And there was no discussions around could I go out for breakfast or could I go out for dinner or whatever it was. I just worked.
So what you're saying is you're a bit more driven than some of the people in the...
The thing is, again, that goes back to what I was saying before about CEOs. That, they'll happily spend like their entire 20s having no life. Right, no friends, no nights out, don't go anywhere, don't do anything, and that's fine. Hey, if you work and build a business and make a success of yourself, I admire that. Well done. Right, but that's most people by definition can't do that. Only a few people can succeed at that, and most people not only don't have the skills, but I think know that they don't. Know it's not their forte and it's not what they want to do with their life. Right, so they want to get a job, they want to work at the job, and they want to live a normal life. Right? They're not going to work every single minute of every single day, right? In the same way as somebody who's building a business. And most people know, most people don't have the skills or the funding or the ability, because you need starting capital. I'm pretty sure this guy had quite significant starting capital. I think we're going to read later. He got help from family and from all sorts, right?
Current generation.
Look, I wouldn't say that they're not driven. I just think that the media and the current environment and lifestyle changes has definitely changed the next generation. I think it's very dangerous. I think it's dangerous for the economy, and I think it's definitely dangerous for their ambitions of owning property. And I think the problem with this generation is they want the 3-bedroom home in Melbourne and Melbourne East and Prahran and Alexandra and Sydney, and it's just not sustainable or realistic.
So what you're saying is our big cities, Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane to a certain extent, are almost becoming like European cities, where people may rent for life simply because they can't afford to buy in those cities.
Oh, absolutely. I think we're almost there now. I mean, I think people are talking about a housing affordability crisis right now. You wait 2 or 3 years.
Oh wow! It's a housing affordability crisis. I thought it couldn't be anything to do with house prices rising because of people like this fucking speculating and trying to turn it into a commodity. I thought it was all because they spend tens of thousands they spend $200,000 over the course of 5 years on avocado and toast. I thought that was the problem. It seems like he actually knows what the problem is, but he just wants to blame people for it, so he doesn't have to feel any guilt when he charges his insanely high rents on the property he owns.
Years when the shock and awe of the last 12 months of no supply, prices are going to jump again and they're going to continue to move. The only thing that gives me a little bit of comfort is the fact that parents have inherited gigantic wealth. The baby boomers have gone and we have created this incredible wealth throughout the baby boomers. Everyone's talking about affordability and housing crises and unaffordability. The realistic fact is there is this incredible amount of wealth that has been created and is sitting with the baby boomers that will be passed down. There is going to be a transition of wealth in the next 20 to 30 years, which will see a lot of those people.
No problem. Listen, don't worry about it if you can't afford a house now, right? Because when you're 60 odd and your parents die, you'll get money. So if you're 30 and you want to start a family, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. As long as you're middle class, forget it if you're working class, that's finished, that's game over. But if you're upper middle class and your family have got a house, well then, there's no problem because, when your mum and dad die, they'll leave you the house maybe, unless you've got a load of brothers and sisters, in which case you're probably going to get one of you or they'll sell it and divide up the money. But if not, you'll get a house then. So, given average life expectancy, average age of having children, yeah, you're probably about, 65 to 70. I think my grandparents were in the 70s when their parents died. So, yes, there you go. Yeah, because my great-grandma was about 93. So, yeah, my granddad was 70. So, you know what? If he'd have been poor, when he'd have got a house, and even poor and lived today, or just middle class and lived today, when his mum died and he was 70, he might have got her house. He might have got her house. Hey, I'm sorry, this is insanity. Right? It's like, this kind of goes to show you that you actually don't have to, and it is true, I'm sorry, to make a lot of money in certain areas, you don't have to be clever. It helps. A lot of people who made a lot of money are very clever, but there's also a lot of schmucks like this who had a bit of financial backing, worked really hard, and managed to do something like property. But he's actually a moron.
Will be able to buy their own home. But I think some sort of measure now, some sort of government incentive to encourage parents to be able to pass down money earlier, I think would be a great thing.
Right. Good God, right. So everyone's been shitting on them, on this Tim Gurner guy. The funniest is the Daily fucking Mail. Okay, when you say some right-wing shit, and then the Daily Mail's like, oh, come on, whoa, this guy's crazy. Okay, you have gone too far. You have gone way too far. You have jumped so far over that shark. Like, you are literally on the opposite side of the world, right? If you go any further over the shark, you're coming back to water. Okay, rich lister boss Tim Gurner claims unemployment needs to rise by 50%, and he's most scathing about one group who are paid too much. A millionaire property developer has issued a brutal wake-up call to arrogant workers, saying the unemployment rate needs to rise by 40 to 50%. Gurner Group CEO Tim Gurner, 40, argued that the COVID pandemic had changed the attitude many workers had towards their jobs. The rich lister said that The rich lister said that employees need to remember that they work for their bosses, not the other way around. We need to see pain in the economy, Mr. Gurner told the Australian Financial Review Property Summit on Tuesday. We need to remind people they work for the employer and not the other way around. A 50% rise in the current 3.7% of unemployment rate to 5.6% would see 275,000 Australians lose their jobs. Mr. Gurner runs a company which is a development and management portfolio worth $9.5 billion. This year, he came in at 192 on the Rich 250 list with an estimated net worth of 677 million Australian dollars. So I just want to tell you, this guy, right, who has 677 million and he's saying that you are lazy and earning too much. You should work harder for less money, and you deserve to lose your job and end up on the street so that when you go back to him begging for a job, you're desperate, while he rakes in all the profits and pays you nothing. Right, look, his first investment property was a flat purchased for his boss for 180 grand in Melbourne St Kilda. Sorry, so he got 34 grand of his grandfather. So it wasn't going to the gym every night and doing all of that. It wasn't the gym every night. It wasn't the get up early in the morning, I'll go to the gym, I'll work till 10 o'clock at night. I didn't have any free time. I didn't eat avocados on toast. Right, no, it's because his family lent him the money for his first investment. Maybe he matched it, I don't know. But still, right? And then he was built by his boss for 180 grand. And it was bought by his boss. He said he was offered to carry out renovations while his boss forked out the money. I spent every night on my hands and knees sanding about the fuck. You actually were selling a house to a fella. That's just like... Oh. Spent every night on my hands and knees, sanding back the floors, painting, renovating, working on the house. When we sold it, I used small profits for 120 grand, 12,000 to purchase my next property, and it all grew from there. Sacrificed a huge amount through those years, working multiple jobs, 7 days a week, and I saved every penny I could. I don't want to deny that the guy's probably saved some money, to be fair. It might not have all been that. He said he used the 12k plus the $34,000 from his grandfather to buy 150,000 to buy a gym. She renovated and turned into a thriving business. He ran the gym for 12 months before selling it to a competitor. Like, again, I'm not saying the guy's not like worked, but Jesus Christ, like, again, you get this help from people and that allows you to do stuff. Most people don't have access to that. Just be fucking grateful. I'm not saying don't take the help. I took the fucking help my family offered me. Right? Right? You know, but why are people aware of that? Why do people hate themselves? Seriously. Why do people just go, you know what, I got this handed for free? Maybe I'm just projecting. Maybe I'm just like, I feel guilty, you fucking should too. Ugh. And I'm not a millionaire, I'm not worth 677 million like this fella. Oh, sorry, I got another comment, what was that? Oh, trying to put share. He's the smashed avocado guy. Yes, he is the smashed avocado guy. Ah! It was $10 that she said, yeah. No, that's from, that was a little quote from Arrested Development. How much is a banana, Michael? $10? Like, yeah. How much is smashed avocado on toast? $40? Yeah, that was such a good one. Apparently also AOC's had a go at him as well. Everyone, even the male, to be fair, AOC was obviously always going to have a go at him. Once the male's having a go at him, like, I think we know what's going on. I don't know if I'm going to read the whole of this because we got the gist already. Wait, what? Is this an Australian one? Because like, yeah, this is your Timbo. Yeah, call him Timbo. I'm pretty sure there's an Australian one. Like, yo, this is your Timbo spruiked. He's 150 million. Yeah, what does a spruiked mean? 150 million dollar luxury anti-aging brand. Saint Hey. Oh, even the name's cunty. Like Saint Haven. Oh yeah. I was reading about this as well. Apparently, he's also obsessed with staying like insanely young. He's built right. It turns out he's not just obsessed with staying young. He's building cult-like man caves where he can rope in the rich to steam themselves and drink tequila. Timbo, with all this chilling out, I was chilling out in oxygen chambers and fiddling out with your aura ring. It's no wonder Australia's productivity is so low. Yes, true, 100%. Yeah, here's this guy spending all his bloody money on absurd fucking anti-aging treatments. You know what, Tim? The reason you're not a billionaire, pal. You know the reason you only got your 677 million and you're not like Bezos, right? You know the reason for that is because you're spunking it all on these silly treatments. You know what you want to do? You want to get up in the morning, go at the gym, stay at work, and you know what? You can own Amazon too. Yeah. A few years ago, Timbo revealed that he bought a St Kilda apartment for 180k, and then the boss at the time approached me and renovated it while he fronted the money. He fronted the money. The boss did. Golly, it must be nice to have an employer who doesn't think you're a lazy asshole, but rather reaches into his back pocket to help out a young fella. Holy shit, I didn't even think... That's you read the thing about the boss in the last bit, but that is absolutely true, right? It's calling others lazy. You know what, they want too much. Your boss gave you 180 grand, pal. Your boss gave you 180 grand, mate. Are you going around telling people they're demanding too much? All he did ask his boss for was a house. Buy a house off me. That's all this boss gave him. 180 grand house. Timbo went on to say that he later took out a $150,000 loan using the 34 grand from his grandfather. Of course, because it's a tale stitched into the fabric of the Australian dream, the lump sum of inheritance and the familial guarantor. The financial backstop that's always there in every story, though never in the headline. This is so true. I fucking love this article. I might start reading Financial Review. What is it? Australian Financial Review. Oh God, this is some good writing. The reason Timbo's comments have resonated globally is that so much is that he's a capitalist edgelord who is willing to publicly say that the thing that other bosses are secretly thinking. Although there are surely readers of this newspaper who are quietly agreeing with him. It's because Tim Gurner encapsulates all the fears that regular people have in the property industry. That's when landlords and property developers go to functions and hotel boardrooms and they all privately gripe about the ungrateful serfs. But the mask didn't slip here. Timbo ripped it off. The next time Timbo chunters on about any aspect of economic policy or about the current predicament of employer-employee relationships, he should be forced to staple to his forehead how he really made it. Lord knows there's enough room. Literally, he's out here saying, I did all this myself, stop spending money on avocado and toast, then coming back saying, we should actually tank the economy, we should hurt our countries, we should literally harm society in order to make employees more grateful to scumbags like him, when he had it all handed to him. It was all handed to him. Again, where's the fucking shame? Right? I'm sorry, I'm not saying you should be cringing with shame going around, but again, I got all shit handed to me, and I at least have the decency to be aware of that. To be like, oh shit, I got a lot handed to me, I should be aware here. You know what, I should actually feel a little bit of just a little bit of guilt, not crippling guilt, but motivating guilt. To be like, you know what, I need to make a difference in the world, I need to try and do more for people, I need to just at least not be a complete dick vampire draining every penny I can from society. Fuck me. Right, I think that's enough of that.